A man without ethics is a wild beast loose upon this world. So, ethics, what is ethics? And why we will read ethics and why ethics is need in UPSC exam? Why ethics is demanding more than other subjects? Why UPSC included ethics in GS paper 4? And a big question, why ethics is more important in our life? So these are some questions that we will understand this ongoing lecture. So hello everyone, my name is Mithies and welcome to the BYD classes. So we will understand ethics from today's, and this is new initiative for your study. So I speak a quote in starting that a man without ethics is a wild beast loose upon this world. Means if a man has not ethics, then he will lose everything. Everything without ethics, you cannot survive in this world, even not in society. Okay, so this is a first quote. You can write in your notes. Okay, so we will understand the ethics, integrity, and aptitude in GS paper 4. Okay, so more important, don't go in this PDF, only listen my voice. So which, which will very helpful and can make your notes, your own notes for better observations, better understanding. Okay, so I will start the first, which are given in like questions form, that what ought I to do? This is the cardinal question of ethical knowledge ethics paper, that what ought I to do? Can we become a chauvinist superiority, or man can be a patriarchal? So these are the cardinal value which are against the a good society, that chauvinism, superiority of man against animal, against women, and patriarchy, which are men in the society is superior than female. Why this? So these are the some values, some words that against the society, and society accept the seva paramo dharma. So this is the quote, seva paramo dharma. And ask yourself that why should you be ethical? What do you understand by value? What role do values play in human life? Can you name some values that you believe are very important? And what, according to you, should be the source of ethical knowledge? Can custom be the source of ethical knowledge? If yes, then why? If not, then why not? Can religion be the source of ethical knowledge? If yes, then why? If not, then why not? And can legal laws be the source of ethical knowledge? If yes, then why? If not, then why not? And what, according to you, should make an action ethical or unethical? Can you think of three actions which, according to you, are ethically just? And can you think of three actions which, according to you, are ethically unjust? Can you think of three actions which, according to you, are ethically just but legally unjust? And can you think of three actions which, according to you, are ethically unjust but legally just? Humans can never be ethical since they are essentially self-interested. Is it correct or not? What do you think? So, you can mention in the comment section that humans can never be ethical since they are essentially self-interested. So why ethics? If this quote is correct, so mention in comment section, okay, and try to understand very broad. And next question is, why do you want to be a civil servant? So this is the cardinal question, that what do you want, why do you want to be a civil servant? Can lying, stealing and killing be ethical? Okay, so these are the some cardinal questions that you can give your answer yourself. And if you want to become a good writer, then mention your answer in comment section. So first question is, next question is, why IAS? Is IAS is for suitable? Is IAS suitable for you? Why you becoming? Why your goal is becoming an IAS? Are you think about this? Or do you understand this? That why will I become an IAS in future? Give scientific reason, critical question and inquiry, assumption or presupposition. So a simple question, that why IAS? Because I am an impartial man and non-partisan man, which are demanding in the society, or demanding for the UPSC, the dedication, impartial, impersonal and non-partisanship, and attitude as well as aptitude, temperance. Okay, so these are the cardinal values for becoming an IAS, which you can grab in your skills, in your practice. That your rational thinking should be clear in your mind, that rational is real and real is rational. That some values given in the constitution as well, is sovereign, democratic, republic, as well as their values like justice, equality, liberty, fraternity, socialist and secular. So these are the some values which are given in the preamble of the constitution. To think about the rational is real and real is rational. And law, why law is applied, that ends justify the means or means justify the end. You can think about women for the first time in NDA exam and permanent commission to be set up in future because Supreme Court order the guidelines to the central government. Then why are not taking a good initiative for women in this country? And LGBTQ 377 for the first time was become legalized by the Supreme Court. So you can think a question that what ought I to think, what ought I to speak, and also what ought I to do. This is the cardinal question. So first is that what is ethics? So ethics is what? Ethics is the science of conduct. All about the science of conduct. Learn this word, the science of conduct. Definition of ethics is what? The science of conduct. Ethics examines the most fundamental question of life. What ought I to do? What ought I to do is inclusive of what ought I to think and what ought I to speak. So etc. These are the some questions about definition of ethics. Introduce ethics in your answer writing. Ethics enables us to formulate the values of life and the principles of conduct of to realize them. Hence, ethics is a normative science. It envisions foundational norms and values in a rational and logical manner. How ought we to create or discover values? Generally, people accept the prevalent notions of right and wrong and uphold existing value system. In this line, the value system, what is a value? Like value is like a love, compassion, sympathy, empathy. So these are some cardinal values in human beings, in human life. Values should be understood as a form of perfection. Values impart meaning, substance and contentment to the life. For instance, truth, good, beauty, like in Hindi term Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, can constitute a life of well-being and pure bliss. Values are the norms, ideals, laws or dharma that ought to be obeyed. Values are the ends or telos, that is the purpose of human existence, and values beacon us, that is inspire us to act or not act in a particular way. Values have real existence. Without values, man is a social animal. Values must be rational. Hence, real is rational and rational is real. A genuine Values should be self-sustaining, eternal, and universal. Some values are supposed as supreme, cardinal. They are intrinsically rational. They are ends in themselves. Other values are relative. They are the means to higher values. Thus, they have instrumental or intrinsic values. Value is like a source of power. That is, it can empower us. It can make us autonomous. For instance, the sun has the ultimate value. Like the sun, the constitutional values like sovereign socialist, secular democratic republic empower us to create a life of self-reliance, dignity and well-being. Love, ahimsa, equality, liberty and justice are the forms of values. They can nourish and replenish life. Hatred, anger, arrogance as well as greed are non-values. So non-values is what? Hatred, anger, arrogance as well as greed. Thus they endanger human existence. They aggravate human suffering. So values can be personal, social, cultural, religious, political, legal, professional as well as ethical. So these are the some points which can mention in your answers that about values. Okay, so a question: what ought we to create and discover values? Write the question: how ought we to create and discover values? So the in answer you you will write: generally people accept the prevalent notions of right and wrong and uphold existing value system. However, these conceptions of values could be vitiated by dogmas, prejudices, patriarchy, misogyny, bigotries, and chauvinism. As a science, ethics implores us to seek justification rather than credulously adhere to frivolous and pseudo-value system. Ethics liberates us from stereotypes, propaganda, and myths. Ethics cultivates a worldview that strives to remain impersonal, impartial, non-partisan, and inclusive. Ethical values shall be regarded as the cardinal values, the characteristics of overridingness, imperativeness, universalizability, and human welfare make ethical values foundational. Ethical values should be the fountainhead of all other values. The values of other spheres, namely social, economic, political, legal, professional, cultural, religious, and so on, should promote ethical values in their respective ways. And what is ethical knowledge? Genuine knowledge is the knowledge of foundational ethical values or dharma. Dharma. Dharma is supreme law of the land. In ancient time, dharma was very important, and in modern times, constitution is very important rather than dharma. Socrates says knowledge is virtue because Socrates emphasizes more to the virtue. What is virtue? The ethical knowledge is the supreme knowledge regarding the virtue. According to Socrates, ethical knowledge consists in cultivating critical thinking and scientific temper. An ethical aspirant shall examine every sphere of life in a presuppositionless manner. Ethical knowledge should be sought as a way of life by studying the book of life. An aspirant should be ready to unlearn rather than learn. Ethical knowledge is a journey, not a destination, because ethics is not a static part. It is a only dynamically. So you can understand about ethics with minute terms. Ethical knowledge is neither static nor absolute as well. Life itself is dynamic, hence the knowledge of good life cannot remain static. Ethical knowledge is a work on progress. We can never acquire final and absolute knowledge. The foundational values can be interpreted as God. Truth means in Hindi term Satyam, good means Shivam, and beauty Sundaram. As earlier I had told, this term justice or basic structure of the constitution. So these are foundational values. In themselves they can remain static, universal and eternal, but our knowledge of these must evolve progressively and scientifically. Hence, pursuit of knowledge is to do develop intellectual love for God, truth, good, beauty, justice, and constitutional morality. Thus, true ethics, true science, true religion, true politics, true religion, yes, true religion and true art can be essentially one and the same. Knowledge in every sphere shall be sought through earnestness, perseverance, reflection, and introspection. That you can mention in sources of ethics. So you can mention in sources of ethics, okay, religion, legal system, human conscience, culture, family system, thinkers and philosophers. So these are the some cardinal sources of ethics. You can mention in your answer that when the sources of ethics is given, sources of ethics are given in the question. Okay, and in ancient traditions, marginalized sections were not allowed to study the scriptures because they have not any right to study the scriptures in ancient times, because untouchability was very prevalent in each and every sphere of life. Bharat Muni writes Natya Shastra as the first Ved to enable people to seek knowledge through the art of drama, irrespective of caste and class. Thiruvalluvar writes Tirukkural, known as Tamil Veda. He believes true God, the distinctions of religion, nation, and language. Truth has its own strength. God is a universal God, not confined to a particular religion or community. To seek truth or God, one must rise above I and mine. An action must be preceded by due deliberations. Tiru means sacred. In Tirukkural, Tiru means sacred. According to Thiruvalluvar, the people to seek inner freedom from inner vices. That inner vices means unethical values which are which were adopted by many people. The Tiruvallur urges people to seek inner freedom against inner vices, because inner vices are bad values, and adopt virtues. An aspirant of ethical knowledge should draw inspiration from Vedic verse. In Vedic verse, mention is truth is one, but it can manifest itself variously. A seeker should examine the dichotomies of thesis and antithesis, and through dialectical approach seek synthesis. One should follow middle path to assimilate divergent views. One should cultivate general will to overcome vested self-interest. Our ethos of unity in diversity, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and secularism are the illustrations of syncretic worldview. Next is, what is the nature of ethical life? The ethical life should not be confused with ascetic life, because ethical life can adopt everyone and ascetic life can adopt someone, not everyone, because ascetic life is very stringent against ethical life, but both are complementary to each other. If ethical life is critical to the ascetic life, then how can you become ascetic life? Live your ascetic life. Don't possible. Okay, so ethics does not ask us to suppress aspirations. Ethics inspires us to expand and refine our aspirations as a way of life. Ethics can bring about holistic and sustainable reform in human life. It can enable us to integrate divisions of society. In an ethical life, one's destiny and worth would not be determined by one's birth. Ethics can empower individual, institutions, and state to eradicate all forms of suffering and injustices, including environmental degradation. So, ethics is implemented in every way of life, be it human beings, be it animals, be it environment, and even the non-living things as well, like water resources and soil. Due to if soil degradation has happened, then what were growing in the soil, and what will happen with the human as well as animal beings? All about an ethical life can be a life where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free. The head is held high where knowledge is free. And I am coming the very crucial part of ethics, that is the ethics of Mahatma Gandhi. So don't miss this heading of ethics of Mahatma Gandhi, because it is very important, becoming very important for answer writing. Okay, so Gandhi's ideology, because Gandhi regards Satya as the highest ideal of life. According to him, the ethical life is the life of Satyagraha, the fearless pursuit of truth. To emphasize upon the primacy of truth, Gandhi says, truth is God and God is truth. Gandhi describes his religion as Satyagraha, religion of truth. As an Advaitin, Gandhi believes in the unity of all plurality and diversity, theism and atheism. Theism means believe in God, and atheism means don't believe in God. Truth is the supreme law. It is universal and absolute. That is, truth is very important in every place of life. The knowledge of Satya or truth is the supreme and the highest good. Ahimsa is the only means to know Satya. Satya and Ahimsa are inseparable. They are essentially one and the same. Gandhi asserts that purity of means and purity of end are vital. Even a good end cannot justify a wrong means. That ends in Gandhi's term. End cannot justify the means because end is supreme and consequences is very important as compared to the means. Gandhi revives the ethics of ahimsa, which is central to Indian traditions, especially to Buddhism and Jainism. Ahimsa for Gandhi is the highest virtue, cardinal virtue. Ahimsa paramo dharma. All other virtues follow from ahimsa. Ahimsa is not merely non-killing, it is the purity of heart, it is love and self-sacrifice, it is non-injury in thought, word and deed. Ahimsa is fearlessness and forgiveness. Ahimsa is the soul force, it is selflessness and tolerance. Ahimsa is the conquest of anger, greed, hatred, arrogance and delusion. Ahimsa is persistent deliberation. It is introspection and contemplation. Ahimsa wins the opponent by persuasion and not by coercion. Gandhi believes that every human is intrinsically good. One should love one's neighbor as oneself because neighbors are very important in every way of life. So don't miss neighbor. Okay. Gandhi says hate the sin, not the sinner. Because one day the sinner itself thinks that what was I do? What was I do in my life? So hate the sin, not the sinner. Gandhi asserts that violence begets violence. An eye for an eye can make the whole world blind. So this line is very important, and this line came as essay in UPSC paper. This is an eye for an eye can make the whole world blind. And ahimsa is the weapon of the strongest. Ahimsa is moral resistance and not meek submission. Ahimsa implies the virtue of non-stealing, austere. Stealing manifests greed, hatred, and delusion. It is a form of violence. Ahimsa implies the virtue of non-possession, aparigraha. It is sinful to over-accumulate resources. Ahimsa and exclusive ownership cannot go together. So these are the some cardinal virtues that Gandhi suggested man or people in this world about ahimsa and satyagraha. And what are the Gandhi's political ideas about satyagraha? Satyagraha is integral to life. Thus, politics without ethical principles is a sin. That Gandhi's seven sins, which are implemented in your life without which principle you cannot do many ethical things. The seven social sins of Mahatma Gandhi, which was given in 19, which were given in 1925. So politics without principle, which will become always ethical, and wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, and science without humanity, and last is worship without sacrifices. So remember these seven sins which are given by Mahatma Gandhi. These are the cardinal virtues of Mahatma Gandhi's life. And next is the importance or significance of ethics, that provides moral map, self-realization, improves decision making, attainment of summum bonum. What is this? That summum bonum is the highest good. Definitive happiness is the goal of an ethical system. Summum bonum means to attainment of highest good for every man and every social life. The next is the absence of ethics leads to, or absence of ethics leads to what, and what will the consequences about if absence of ethics is leading in the society in individual level, social level, political level, human rights. Though these are some cardinal values, that if you forget your ethics, then consequences are very severe or very danger. So you can write these values that at individual level, social level, political level, human rights, individual level like the crisis of conscience, yes, and social level that you will not understand that what is wrong and what is right. In political level, the gains of the politics is much more important than the welfare of the people. Okay, and next is human rights. In human rights, that is the crimes against women and crimes against the environment is very unjust. And in bureaucratic life, corruption is ongoing and corruption is very severe. Then cannot save a mind with corrupt. Okay, so corruption in bureaucratic level is the bad consequences if he had not ethics. An international level, prisoner of war in war situation, that prisoners can be grabbed by enemy country. So in international level, the International Criminal Court orders that country to save the prisoners of war without bad behavior on the army personnel with the army personnel is unethical. And accountability is what? That a good civil servant can forget his accountability, and good unethical work in the society and loss his consciousness. And environmental level, that man cannot understand how environment is working and always do unethical work and unhygienic work, so he can prejudice over environment. So these are the some consequences, some points you can understand, you can write in your answer. And next is the dimensions of ethics. What are dimensions of ethics? Okay, so we can understand the dimensions of ethics. Okay, just a minute. Yes, so dimensions of ethics, like the descriptive ethics. First is descriptive ethics. It question that what do people think is right, and in metaethics, second dimension is metaethics. What does right even mean? In normative ethics, how should people act? Utilitarianism. In normative ethics, there are other subdimensions of normative ethics like utilitarianism, deontology, virtue ethics. So these are some subdimensions of normative ethics which we'll cover in ongoing lecture. And next dimension is applied ethics. And its question is how do we take moral knowledge and put it into practice? Okay. So these are the some dimensions, 4 dimensions of ethics which we'll cover in broad term. So in first dimension, the ethics and legal law is prevail. So in this case, the ethics and legal law. So emphasize more about law. Law is what is law? Law is essentially a norm, value, ideal of dharma. Law has imperativeness, it has inviolability. Law can be social, cultural, religious, legal, natural, as well as ethical. Ethical laws can be created through ethical inquiry by an autonomous ethical agent. Legal laws are formulated through formal political institutions. The Constitution of India is essentially the reservoir of ethical values, and it is the fountainhead of all legal laws. As in our Constitution, the legal laws are mentioned, such as rule of law. The law must prevail unconditionally. Equality before the law and equal protection of the law is central to rule of law. Law according to justice implies that the law must be ethically just. Law should not be the whims and fancies of a despot. Law should not be based on the popular sentiments of majority. As we the people, we aspire to create ethically just law through constitutional democracy. As we the people, we strive to participate in a collective deliberation, not individualistic. Only that in preamble, first line mention that we the people, which is the collectively deliberations as impersonal selves on the lines of general Rousseau's general will. A legal law which is in contravention of the basic structure of the Constitution of India, which cannot abrogated by the Constitution, which cannot abrogated by Parliament through amendment. So this is the beauty of the basic structure. And point of difference between ethics and legal law. So ethical laws upheld out of choice through the internal sanction of conscience and self reputation. That is, it springs from within. An action has no ethical value if it is performed out of fear of punishment or hope of reward. Legal law Legal laws are primarily implemented through external sanctions through coercion by the state. Legal law Legal laws can be sanctioned by the state on the people of the country for regulating the just law. Ethical laws are universal or eternal like the natural laws. Hence, ethical rights are natural rights. They are human rights. For instance, right to life are essentially ethical, thus truly fundamental. Ethical rights go beyond the boundaries of space and time. They should take precedence over legal laws. So ethical laws is very important than the legal laws. They should take precedence over the legal law. And Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau maintain that natural rights are prior to the origin of the state. As ethical rights, since one is human, animal rights can also be ethical. Legal laws are relative. They have spatio-temporal limitations. Practices like child marriage, sati, untouchability, slavery become illegal only after the enactment of legal laws. That is, the earlier they were not illegal, they were prevalent as legal laws. So these are the evil practice of the society at that time. But all such practices are eternally or universally unethical. These practices cannot become always, never cannot become ethical, always become unethical. Ethics is integral to life. Ethically perfect life, like Gandhi's Sarvodaya Sama and Marxist communist society, would not require legal laws. Legal laws become stringent in an ethically imperfectly life. State can be compelled to formulate unjust legal laws like death sentence, ASPA, Armed Forces Special Power Act, which is enacted in the northeast states for controlling the insurgency in the northeast of states of India. When there is complete subversion of ethical principles, deterrence of law does not come nearly from stringent punishment but from certainty of punishment. Legal measures may check the incident but cannot restore ethical order. Ethical interventions are the only credible solutions. So here, ethical laws are prevail over legal laws. Next is the determinants of ethics. Okay, determinants of ethics. Before this, we can understand the parts of dimensions. Okay, so ethics and morality. Dimension in ethics and morality. So, what is ethics and what is morality, and comparison between these two terms. So, you can write in your notes. Okay, so what is ethics and what is morality? So, ethics and morality are closely interrelated. The relation between these two terms is relative and contextual. In some contexts, they can be one and the same. In other contexts, they can be different. In normative context, where we ask the principal question, what ought I to do? Ethics and morality can be used as interchangeable terms. In this question, that what ought I to do? An ethical issue can be a moral issue, and moral issue also can be a ethical issue. So these are vice versa. Again, ethics is derived from the Greek word ethos and morality from the Latin word mores, and both these words means custom, habit. Okay, so these are two terms which are very beautiful of ethical point of view. However, despite their etymologically origin, it would be wrong to equate customary with the ethics or morality. We can clearly distinguish between customary morality and reflective morality. Even more, in academic contexts, some scholars distinguish between ethics and morality. Some important points of difference. The first difference is some scholars distinguish between ethics and morality with reference to theory and practice. They maintain that the interest of an ethicist is theoretical while that of a moralist is practical. Accordingly, ethics is also called moral philosophy or science of morals, since it tries to examine moral concepts such as right, good, virtue, and so on. Second difference is, according to other scholars, morality is a subset of ethics. Ethics deliberations help us conceptualize the highest ideals of life, whereas morality is concerned with specific principles of action. In other words, ethics is concerned with an ideal life or good life, while morality with right conduct only. Third difference is, some scholars say that the view that ethics is secular while morality is related to a religion. And fourth distinction is, the something can be unethical yet moral cannot. For example, it can be said that Robin Hood's act of stealing to feed the poor was unethical but still moral. So Robin Hood's act of stealing to feed the poor was unethical because he was hungry. An act of stealing was unethical, but it was moral. According to some scholars, ethics comes from the Greek ethos meaning character, whereas morals derived from the Latin mores, which means custom and etiquette. Thus, morality is about right actions, obligations, and duties. Ethics, on the other hand, is about one's character, the kind of person one is. And sixth and last difference is few others open that morality refers to culture, the prevalent value system of society, while ethics refers to individuals' own value system. What is meta ethics? Dimension of meta ethics and normative ethics. The distinction between these two terms was not there prior to the 20th century. Yes, it is correct. It is a modern value. These are the modern dimension of ethics. Normative ethics is the first order inquiry. It primarily inquiries into the question, what ought I to do? In contrast, metaethics is the second order inquiry. It examines moral concepts, judgments, methods, and arguments. So, the central question of metaethics, that is semantic question, that what is the meaning of moral terms such as good, ought, and right, and what is the logical question is how to ascertain validity of moral arguments, and ontological questions, that whether there are moral facts. Epistemological question is that is there such a thing as moral knowledge? What the Socrates thinks. Socrates was a great thinker. He influenced the entire development of Western ideas and thinking. He wrote nothing. Our knowledge of Socrates comes primarily from dialogues written by Plato. Plato was deeply influenced by Socrates. It is impossible to see clearly whether Socrates' thought ends and Plato's begins. Socrates lived in Athens. Socrates' chief concern was to challenge the skepticism of sophists. Since sophists threatened the foundations of morality and the state by undermining knowledge. For sophists, knowledge is unattainable and there is no truth. Socrates borrowed his view of life from the inscription at Delphi, Know thyself. He boasted that his superiority lay in his awareness of his own ignorance. Unlike the sophists, he made no claim to the possession of any social knowledge. So this is the Socrates ideology, and Plato's ideology was a preeminent Greek thinker. Plato was a preeminent Greek thinker. Plato was gifted and extremely versatile. And Plato's conception of justice. For Plato, justice is one of the four cardinal virtues. The other three are temperance, courage, and wisdom. In Plato's ideal state, everyone has one's place. The justice implies that they act and are treated accordingly. Cooperation among all for the sake of a successful society is the key to justice. According to him, Justice in the state is precisely the same as justice in the individual. That is, reason must rule within human as well as within the state. There will be justice only when there is a rule of reason and the people obey its commands. So, in an ideal state, the reins of government shall remain in the hands of philosopher king. In republic, in republic world, Plato draws an analogy between an ideal city state and the individual's soul. An ideal state has three classes: rulers, soldiers, and workers. Workers means producers. Similarly, soul is composed of reason, spirit, and appetite. So these are the some cardinal virtues of the Plato. Okay. Next thing is dimensions of ethics. No, dimensions of ethics is and next is the determinants of ethics. So determinants like religion, culture, society, law, family and teacher, conscience, role model, constitution and judiciary. And I will provide to you that some determinants of ethics that are very crucial in your answer writing. So dimensions of ethics, you can write determinants of ethics that you can write as the custom, conscience, third is intuition, fourth is law, and fifth is pleasure. And first determinant is what is the custom. That custom is like inherited community, way of life. Many words were existing parallel, but after that we started an interconnected world because we were earlier as barbaric people or uncivilized people which who are lived in shelter and separately, not collectively. So customary morality. In customary morality, custom is sovereign and custom is the state. So custom is the king. Chauvinism is more prevail over the egalitarian between man and the woman. So essence of superiority is prevail over the society in the customs determinant. And next is conscience. Conscience is a voice from within. What do you understand by voice of conscience? What preposition would you paid a heed about the conscience? And conscience is not an original voice but voice from within. Remember this, the conscience is voice from within, that you have to follow your own voice when you will fall in dilemma. It is acquired, it is eternal, internal and natural voice of an essence, voice of reason, for example, natural light of a reason. Socrates emphasized the voice of divinity. Gandhi emphasized you have to follow soul force, that is voice of body. It is voice of God. And Buddha says ahimsa, non-violence is character of voice of conscience. Gandhi's talisman. If voice minimize the downtrodden Anthudya as regard, it can be voice of misogyny, chauvinism, action or conduct, intrinsic power, strive to pay heed to voice of conscience, apparent voice of conscience. So these are the cardinal virtues that you can think in your mind in your own voice, and what you think that what is right and wrong, and eradicate the wrong things which you can think is a conscience. And Buddha says, if you diminishing the suffering in this world, then it is a voice of conscience. Rousseau said that conscience and conscience alone can elevate human being to a level above that of animals. Without conscience, you will be fall with animal life, that you cannot follow your own voice at what is right and what is wrong, then your level should be equal to the animal. And in this case, the crisis of conscience is come, that when more than one voice originate from within, and they are inconsistent and they are conflict with each other, then encounter the voice of conscience. So I could descend the crisis if I have a clear idea about the crisis of conscience. I resolved the crisis through Aristotle's golden mean, and I could find the middle path and Gandhi's talisman, middle path of Gautam Buddha and Gandhi's talisman. Thus the real life situations thereby tries to an occasion. It was compulsion. The life is very hard. That is pain and religious sinful choice can make a wise like euthanasia. How will you pay heed? I have to develop intellectual love. And next determinant is intuition. Intuition means prior knowledge equated with the premonition. It implies that immediate and direct voice of choice. And if you have good intuition, then you think very quickly about the solution of wrong things. Then you can pay heed with quickly solve the problem like moral dilemma and crisis of conscience. So intuition is very important role play in the crisis of conscience as well as moral dilemmas. Some conscience is a sense of intuition as moral sense, and through moral sense immediately intuition as moral sense. So intuition is very important than any other human beings